What's up, my fellow geeks? Today on Kyle Recommends Comics, I get to talk about my all-time favorite comic book character, Spawn. Created in 1992 by fellow Canadian Todd McFarlane at Image Comics. Spawn had a fantastic HBO miniseries in the late 90s and a horrible live-action movie in 1997. I really don't recommend it. It does not hold up. Today I'm going to recommend some Spawn comics for you to use as jumping off points if you're thinking about getting into the Spawn series, get the ball rolling, and really fall in love with the character. First category we're going to look at is classic Spawn. If you're just going to pick one classic issue, I recommend issue number 4. Both the story and the artwork is by Todd McFarlane. Go ahead and skip over issue 1, 2, 3, go straight to issue 4. The first 3 issues are just building up to the climax in issue number 4. The entire comic book is just a colorful, bloody fight between Spawn and Violator. And the cover artwork here is probably the best, or one of the best, in the entire Spawn series. Second category we need to look at is new era Spawn, so more recent issues. I would recommend the Dark Horror series, which begins with issue 276 and goes for 8 issues until 283. Story is by Dara Savage and illustrated by Jason Sean Alexander. This version of Spawn is a lot different. It's more like a suspenseful, scary horror movie, and the artwork really lends itself to that. The artwork is more like creepy paintings. It's a lot different than your traditional bold lines and colorful pages. If there's ever a reboot of the live-action movie, it's going to resemble this Spawn more than any other, so I recommend issue 276. Next category, let's look at a Spawn crossover comic book. I'm going to recommend the Spawn Batman crossover. This one is the Image Comics version, story by Frank Miller and artwork by Todd McFarlane. DC Comics also did a version of this crossover. I mean, what's not to love about this comic book? You've got the 2 great, gritty comic book characters fighting it out, sometimes against one another, sometimes against another enemy. There's multiple full-page artworks. It's just a true classic. I've gone back to this comic book multiple times to reread it. I highly recommend Spawn Batman, the Image comic version. Moving on to a 4th category we should discuss is a Spawn spin-off comic book series. I'm going to recommend the Angela miniseries. This came out in 1994 and was a complete story. It was 3 issues. This is issue number 1. There's a lot to discuss when it comes to Angela, so bear with me. I'm going to try to condense it. Angela was originally a bounty hunter and angel from heaven who would hunt down and kill Hellspawn. She was created by Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane over at Image Comics. Neil Gaiman eventually left Image Comics and won a legal battle against Todd McFarlane for the rights to the character. He then sold the rights to the character to Marvel, so now Angela lives over at Marvel and is rebranded as the lost sister of Thor. I would love to see her in the new Thor Love and Thunder movie, but I'm not going to put my money on that. This miniseries sees Angela and Spawn sort of team up and maybe even share some romance by the end of it, which is pretty cool. Greg Capullo did the artwork for this miniseries, which is perfect because I feel Greg Capullo was one of the best artists to ever work on the Spawn series. So if you read this miniseries, it'll give you a good feel for that. I recommend the miniseries Angela. 5th category to look at is historic Spawn. I'm going to go with a pair of issues for this recommendation. Go ahead and pick up issue number 300 and 301. With these issues, Spawn becomes the longest running independent comic book in the history of comic books. There is a little debate out there as to which comic book technically gives them the title. Spawn issue 300 is called History Making, and Spawn issue 301 is titled Record Breaking. So I think technically issue 301 gives them the crown, as you can see there by the cover artwork. These 2 issues are really worth the dollars. They're heavy, they're full of content, they're more like graphic novels. If you're ever gonna read just one Spawn comic book your entire life, you gotta pick up issue number 300. It's a great, complete overview of the entire Spawn history and Spawn universe. They bring back multiple artists, including Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo, who I previously mentioned, and multiple writers. It's a fantastic comic book, and it even ends by introducing a brand new badass Spawn character. I love it. Go pick up issue 300. Lastly, I'm going to recommend my personal all-time favorite issue of Spawn. We're going to go back to a classic issue of Spawn. I recommend issue number 9. This is the first appearance of Angela. I love me some Angela, and not sure why. Angela is a scantily clad, badass angel warrior who goes around killing demons. Teenage boys did not stand a chance. The first half of this issue reads like a bounty hunter's manual, and it really sets the theme and sets the mood for the first clash between Spawn and Angela. This is a must-read. If you're thinking about diving into the Spawn universe, those are the issues I recommend to start your journey. But if you're at a flea market or yard sale and you come across a Spawn comic, go ahead and pick it up. You can't go wrong with any Spawn content. If you'd like to support this channel, please consider visiting my online store where I will be selling originally designed t-shirts and mugs. The link will be in the description of this video. Until next time, thanks for watching.